Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series, First Person Funhouse, where we're taking a look at some of my favorite first-person shooting games of all time, and we couldn't talk about first-person shooters in the 90s without touching on Duke Nukem 3D, because when this game came out, it absolutely blew everybody away, and it was all anyone could talk about for the first year of its release. Before we get too far involved, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined, we got a Patreon link down there as well, but if you don't feel like it, I won't shoot a rocket launcher at you. But I remember when this game was being previewed for PC and the hype surrounding it. It was massive. Nobody could wait for this game to come out. It's all we wanted to play. And when the game came out, it delivered on absolutely every single promise it made and more. It just exploded the world, and Duke Nukem was all you would play, all you would hear about, all you would talk about, all your friends would talk about. You went to school, maybe you played sports, you got home, and you played Duke Nukem 3D. Which is to say, it's unfortunate what's actually happened to Duke Nukem, because now that entire character is one giant joke. This is the only game he's ever been in that's any good. There were some 2D platforming games before this that were fine, but with the fiasco of Duke Nukem Forever, what used to be one of the most well-known characters in gaming is now just made a joke of. And he definitely deserves it, because Duke Nukem Forever, while not maybe as bad as most people say it is still quite terrible. But just reviewing and talking about Duke Nukem 3D and forgetting about all the other things going on in the Duke Nukem franchise, you could say that this is one of the best first-person shooter games ever made. And of course it came out after Doom, and you know, sometimes it's called a Doom clone, but everything that Duke Nukem 3D did was so innovative, so new and unique, that it felt like a completely different game that stood on its own merits versus just being a Doom clone. But of course mechanically it is the exact same concept. It's a first-person shooter. This just uses the build engine where, you know, Wolfenstein, things like that, were using id Tech designs. So it's definitely a Wolf or a Doom clone, but it is of the highest order. And this game, the sense of humor is definitely aged. You can't dismiss that. But in the 90s, when Duke Nukem 3 came out, it was a hard game. You saw I just died. But all of that humor was kind of what was going on in the 90s. So as a time capsule, time and place look into a game, it definitely makes a lot more sense versus what you were getting in Duke Nukem Forever. But this game looked outstanding when it came out. You can see the lighting effects here, those red curtains in the convenience store. I'm not really sure why they're back there, but you can see there's some explodable walls and different secrets to check out. But this was technologically really amazing to look at when it released. And you can see we're definitely playing it with some modifications. We're playing it in 16:9 widescreen, and we have full mouse look on, and that's how I recommend playing it. You can totally play the original version on DOSBox, but there's so many mods and innovations that are going to make the game easier to play from a quality of life standpoint. I highly recommend you do check those out, and I will leave some links in the description below to them. But the best part about Nukem 3D when I first played it was how interactive it was. Doom didn't have much going on, but you get these little things like pool minigames. You press the space bar and you hit the pool balls. It's a tiny little thing, but back then that was just unheard of. These little light switches that you could flick, pool balls that you could move around. The level of detail and the attention that the developers at 3D Realms put into this game were just absolutely outstanding. And of course, being a kid in the 90s, when you heard that there were strippers in the game, you were also interested for many other different reasons. And it definitely used a more mature theme to it, as you can see here, things that Doom weren't giving you. And of course this game was always controversial for what it showed outside of the gameplay as well, but things like making the cops pigs in the game. They are boars. There's definitely a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor and innuendo going on. It's probably more creative than we give it credit for, because this game was considered pretty crass when it came out, but I would say that all of the writing, all of the humor, all of the design is actually more intelligent than you would think. What I'll let you do is watch just a little bit of the game without me talking, because the soundtrack in Duke Nukem 3D is also amazing. What I'll do is I'll just let you watch the rest of this level and a little bit of the next one, and I'll come back in about a minute and tell you more about why this game is just, from a historical and fun standpoint, one you want to play. And see, I talked right over the end of that level, so I guess you're just into the next one. Be right back. I love all the different sound effects for the enemies dying as well. The music is good, the shotgun sounds great. A lot of the sound design in this game was really spectacular, and I do like the fact that the enemies are coming from different heights, and you kind of get a jetpack attachment in this game as well, so you can kind of travel up and down in the areas, because as we move down here you can see that this game features a lot of verticality that were not in a lot of other first-person shooters of the era. Things like Blood, things like Heretic and Doom all took place on pretty linear levels as far as the vertical nature is concerned. Now with Duke Nukem 3D, the levels can be massive. We can go all the way down to the bottom, all the way to the top of this level. You take a look at the map here and see how big it really is, and it's just a different type of gameplay. I feel like I'm actually in a canyon because the level takes place inside of a canyon, and I love that about it. And I can't stress enough just how huge Duke Nukem was, and how unfortunate it is that that character has become kind of a joke at this point in time. I've never seen a franchise that has squandered more goodwill after having such an incredible outing than this game. It's just incredible to think that the next game of the series was Duke Nukem Forever, and it took decades to come out, and just how bad that game really was compared to Duke Nukem 3D. It is probably, like I said, if you can think of a better example, leave me a comment below, the #1 most squandered opportunity around. And you'll see there I did fall through on a jump. There is platforming segments in this game, and like any first-person game, especially in the 90s, they can be a little bit difficult, but they're not too punishing whatsoever. What I really love about this game is the level design and architecture. You really have to kind of hunt to where to go next. There's definitely some hidden areas that you need to find, or different paths you can take to be able to progress in the game. It never feels unfair, but it definitely feels better than something like Doom, where you're just running to the end of the stage in an almost a linear pattern. And you can see here as I peek down, there's another area that I can't quite get to right now, but I know that it exists somewhere, and I can find it. And the game does love kind of like keystoning these areas for you, saying something's over here, you can't get to it yet, but you know that you need to come back around and try to find it. Maybe that's where the end of the level exists. Maybe that's just a secret. You're never quite sure, but you always want to be looking around and finding out what the next thing is going to be. And this game, from start to finish, there really aren't any bad levels. Some are better than others, but there's no duds in this game. And that's just why I love it so much and wanted to talk about it, because I enjoyed Doom when it came out. But when this game released, it's all that anyone could think about. Every single one of my friends in the 90s had a copy of this game. People bought new computers for it. It was basically reviewed as being a perfect game. People couldn't get enough Duke Nukem. And now today, if you even mention it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that series, it's crap. If you've never played this game before, you definitely should check it out. It is available on everything. You can download it on the Xbox Store, PlayStation Store, Steam, Good Old Games. You can download the original DOS version and run it in DOSBox. You can modify it like I'm modifying it here. No matter how you play the game, you owe it to yourself to check it out, because it is just incredible. And it does have some light puzzle solving. I just had to push those buttons in the right order, but it's nothing that's going to be too difficult. But now moving on to the next mission, we're in space, and the game has completely changed. Yes, it's still a first-person shooter. Yes, we're still shooting aliens, but I love all the different environments. We were just in a canyon, we were in a prison cell, we were in a strip club, and now we're in a space station. It changes the environments readily enough so that as soon as you're kind of getting bored of the environment that you're in, your game's going to be giving you something completely different. It's going to be fresh and unique again. Now we have teleporters, different places we can check out, and now we have a rocket launcher that we're just going to be able to tear through enemies with. Even a bottle of steroids if you want to power yourself up further. But if you played this game before, leave me a comment below, because like I've said in some of the other videos, I have to remember, maybe you weren't alive when this came out, maybe you were 2, maybe you were 3, because this for me was like late middle school, early high school that I was playing this game. The death matches were incredible. I had friends bring their computers to my house so we could have LAN parties when those were still a thing that existed. So for me, this is just part of my gaming growing up. I talk about retro consoles and technology a lot on the channel and arcade stuff. But in the 90s, PC first-person shooting gaming was some of my favorite stuff to play. Short of that, thanks so much for watching, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments, I'll leave them down below. We will be back next Tuesday with another episode in the First Person Funhouse, and I will have videos on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday as well. But like I said, I can't stress enough. If you think Duke Nukem's a bad game, if you've heard bad things because of Forever, just play this game and leave me a comment and tell me what you think about it, because I can almost guarantee you're going to love it. Short of that, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.